We are Belinda.
And Kevin Porter.
We are the Sexagenarian Sages.
We are here to bust the myths around sex and aging.
As sex and relationship coaches, we celebrate and support those who want to make their golden years their best years, in and outside of the bedroom.
We particularly like working with older couples, with retirees, older people who we find are actually looking for more connection, more mutual satisfaction in their relationships.
They're longing for the way things used to be. And over the years, so many other things have taken priority over their relationship.
Careers,
children,
all the
hobbies.
things, having a house.
We know what that's like because we've been there ourselves. And maybe this is a good point to tell our story.
All right.
And shall I begin?
You go ahead first.
Okay. I am a breast cancer survivor, and I went into menopause at the age of 42 due to the treatment for breast cancer. And it created some problems for our sex life. And then a few years later, I had a total hysterectomy, and intercourse became painful. And here I was, not even 50, and I thought my sex life was over. We were having sex 3 to 4 times a year. I wasn't initiating because I knew it was going to cause me pain.
Yeah, I didn't initiate. I didn't want to cause pain.
And the sad part is we existed that way for the better part of a decade before I finally addressed the issue that was causing the physical pain. And our sex life picked up some. We were up to a couple times a month, and it felt good to please him. It felt good to have that closeness again. But I had spent so long suppressing my desire that it just wasn't there. And before I get into how I got my desire back, would you like to share a little bit of where you were during that period?
Sure. Yeah, my desire had shut down too during this time. And I had lived a life that was full of adventure, risk, doing things that were fun in the outdoors, sometimes risky in the outdoors. And I was reaching a stage of life where I couldn't be quite as physical as I used to be. And I was missing that. I didn't have any kind of a real sex life at home either. I was going into a very dull and gray period of life. I'd lost my joy of life. And I was reaching a point where it was either a matter of just stop living or find a way to bring that passion of life back. And I went looking for that. I made the decision to try and get my passion back.
And you found something.
I did. And on the evening of our 25th wedding anniversary, I had just gone to learn a particular practice. And I brought it home. And that evening, before our 25th anniversary, we practiced it for the first time.
And I still say, it's the best gift that you ever gave me.
It helped to awaken my passion.
And it completely changed who I am as a woman, not just within our relationship, but it helped me, for one thing, it helped me own my own sexuality. I had a particular view of sex from my upbringing that sex was really, it was more my duty as a wife, and pleasing him was what was important. If I got pleasure out of it, well, that's fine. But it was about keeping him happy. And he had a different attitude, and he tried to teach me that different attitude. And I just could not hear it for 25 years.
But we were able to reestablish our relationship. Took commitment, but we did it. We used some mentors.
Yep. And I am so grateful for the people who helped us on that journey. People like Miss Jaya. We are certified coaches for Miss Jaya. I also have worked with women like Regina Thomashower, also known as Mama Gina, and Kristen Sweeting Morelli, to really understand who I am as a woman and to develop confidence in myself.
I did some work too. I worked with people like Rob Candell, Tough Love. I worked with Ken Blackman. I worked with John Wineland of the David Data people. I also did some work around Dr. Robert Glover's work, No More Mr. Nice Guy, and even some work with Stephen Kotler as my coach, learning how to go into flow states, all of which have helped me to be able to readjust my attitude and my desires.
The work we've done individually and the work we've done together has helped us really learn how to have the kind of relationship that we want. We decided to become coaches because we see so many other couples in the same boat that we were, just getting by. And thinking, well, this is the way it's going to be. And I think that's one of the things that made a difference with us is we didn't know what we didn't know.
Right.
And that's why the teachers and coaches were important in helping us.
They could show us what we didn't know, give us the opportunity, if we wanted, to make the changes. And it gave us a third party, a more objective party, to handle the issues and patterns that we had in our relationship.
That's true, because we couldn't see the patterns ourselves.
Nope. And even if we did know that something wasn't quite right, it's difficult when you're both so invested in the pattern to be able to break it on your own.
So we want you to know there are things you can do. There is hope. So we're going to drop a video every week, and we're going to talk about things like what you can do to maintain and improve your sex life as you age. And maybe you're not a senior yet, but we've got information for you. When do you want your sex life to end? When you're 45?
50?
Or do you want a healthy, vibrant sex life throughout your life? And we have things that we can recommend to you to do to keep it that way.
We know what our culture says and how young people look at older people as, yick, they're doing that.
Old people shouldn't be doing it.
You'll be there one of these days.
We're going to talk about sex after menopause.
And we'll talk about some of the physical issues that men have to deal with. Erectile dysfunction, joints that don't want to move, the pain that comes with all of that, prostatitis, BPH, the things that can be physical barriers to having the kind of sex that you want to have.
We're going to talk about pleasure, because shouldn't sex be pleasurable?
I know our culture, it just seems to have this attitude that pleasure isn't good. You're not supposed to have it.
And what kind of sex education did you have? I'll bet it didn't focus on pleasure. For that matter, did you get any sex education?
Communication. Everybody hears it all the time. Yakety, yakety, yak. We all have to communicate better. But what does that really mean? Well, we'll go in depth into some of the ways in which you communicate and ways in which you can do it practically within a relationship.
And have those difficult conversations. The conversations maybe you've been avoiding for years or decades. And maybe when you have those conversations, you may find out that your partner is longing for some of the same things you're longing for.
Sex toys.
Yes. We're going to tell you about some of our favorite sex toys. And we're going to talk about solo sex and masturbation.
And, you know, we're going to talk about prioritizing sex as well, which may mean things like scheduling.
But it's supposed to be spontaneous.
And looking at ways in which you can set that time aside to make it possible to have sex if you want it.
That's true. We spend so much time where our lives are so busy. I mean, when do you allow time for sex?
And you may find that scheduling it for a few weeks, a few months, makes it so it's a little bit more regular.
And maybe the spontaneity will come back as well. It did with us.
And you can let the scheduling go.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not.
So we're going to talk about much more. As I said, we will drop a video every Monday. Subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss anything. And tune in for our advice from the Sexagenarian Sages.
Thanks for joining us.
Alrighty. Bye.
Bye.